Time for another episode of Maybe I'm Rambling. Iran is trying to tell us something cool. Iran election. Israel PM warns world of Ibrahim. Israel's prime minister has said the international community should wake up to the election of Iran's next president. Ibrahim Raisi. Prime Minister Naftali Bennett said Iran's regime of brutal hangmen wants nuclear weapons, something Iran has repeatedly denied. Ibrahim Raisi was declared the winner of Iran's presidential election on Saturday. He is Iran's top judge and holds ultra-conservative views. In a statement following his victory, he promised to strengthen public trust in the government and be a leader for the entire nation. I will form a hard-working, revolutionary and anti-corruption government, state media quoted him as saying. The election race was widely seen as being designed to favor Mr. Raisi. The president-elect, who will be inaugurated in August, is under U.S. sanctions and has been linked to past executions of political prisoners. In an Israeli cabinet meeting on Sunday, Mr. Bennett told colleagues this was the last chance for world powers to wake up and understand who they are doing business with. Oh, I see, those are fighting words. A regime of brutal hangmen must never be allowed to have weapons of mass destruction. Unless it's America. Iran and Israel have been in a long-running shadow war, which has resulted in both countries taking part in tit-for-tat actions, but so far avoiding all-out conflict. Recently, however, the hostilities between the two have escalated again. What a surprise! The situation is complex, but one big source of tension is Iran's nuclear activities. Iran blames Israel for the murder of its top nuclear scientist last year in an attack on one of its uranium enrichment plants in April. Israel does not believe that Iran's nuclear program is purely peaceful, and is convinced it is working towards building a nuclear weapon, which happens when you keep harassing someone. The 2015 Iran nuclear deal, which saw harsh penalties on Iran lifted as long as it stopped some nuclear work, collapsed when former U.S. President Donald Trump abandoned the deal in 2018. Reimposed the crippling economic sanctions. The Biden administration is now trying to work out a way to re-enter the deal. In response to the sanctions being tightened, Iran stepped up its nuclear activities, and is currently enriching uranium at its highest levels ever, although still short of what is needed to make nuclear-grade weapons. So what? Just let those two rub each other to cats. Commenting on the election result, the U.S. said it regretted Iranians were denied their right to choose their own leaders in a free and fair electoral process. There are no elections, only pre-picked. Voter turnout was at a record low for this election, with less than 50% of registered voters going to the polls, compared to more than 70% in 2017. Many people shunned the vote, believing that it had been engineered in favor of Mr. Raisi, who is a staunch ally of Supreme Leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei. Ayatollah Khamenei has repeatedly called for the elimination of the State of Israel. In 2018, he described the country as a cancerous tumor that had to be removed from the region. Oh, that's not lovely. Nuclear deal talks. Mr. Raisi's win has come on the same weekend as negotiations to try and revive the 2015 Iran nuclear deal continue in Vienna. The EU has said another formal meeting will take place on Sunday between Iran and the 6 world powers involved in the deal. This is the 6th round of indirect talks between the US and Iran. And this week officials said the parties remain divided on some key issues. Reuters reported. A spokesman for the U.S. State Department said the indirect talks would still continue after Mr. Raisi takes power. What about the reaction from elsewhere? Russia's Vladimir Putin was quick to congratulate Ibrahim Raisi highlighting the traditionally friendly and good neighborly relationship between the two countries. I have a bridge to sell. The leaders of Lebanon, Syria, Iraq, Turkey and the United Arab Emirates sent similar messages of support and congratulations. A spokesperson for Hamas, the Palestinian militant group that runs Gaza, wished Iran progress and prosperity. However, human rights groups have said Mr. Raisi should be investigated for atrocities. Yeah, everyone should. As head of Iran's repressive judiciary, Raisi oversaw some of the most heinous crimes in Iran's recent history, which deserve investigation and accountability rather than election to high office. I have an idea. Let's elect a snake to office, at least he will be honest, Michael Page from Human Rights Watch said.